Do you need to connect a database to your CRM system and also need an approval workflow? Ciao and welcome to my new video. In this one, I'm gonna show you how you can make the most out of the Zapier's features, tables and interfaces so you can build a workflow that pushes the right data into your CRM and apps. If you don't know me already, I'm a business automation consultant and I help managers and entrepreneurs automate their processes so they can save time, reduce the overwhelm of the team, and improve the customer experience. In this video, I'll illustrate you the scenario, walk you through the process, and also show you a tutorial on how to implement the system. So let's dive in. As you can see from my whiteboard, the scenario is the following one. You have a database, and in this video, by database, I mean something like a payment processing tool, scheduling and booking system, or a class and membership management software, and so on. You basically have customers' data coming in, and after an approval step, you want several things to happen based on different scenarios. That often happens when you want to provide an exceptional customer experience, and therefore you want to notify and onboard the customer, update the CRM, and so on, without making life difficult for your team. Because we all know that they are always trapped with repetitive and low-level tasks, and they should be allocated to high-level tasks, such as talking to prospects and customers. For some clients, I've used Zapier's features, interfaces, and tables, and I'll put somewhere a flowchart so you can visualize better what I have implemented. So you have your database that pushes customers' data into a ZAP. This ZAP creates then a new row in the table, and your team basically interacts with this table to review, update, and approve the record. The ZAP proceeds with the approved data so that you can update your CRM and connect other apps. Now, imagine that you have several scenarios that you wanted to cover. You can create several paths in the ZAP, and each one of these paths can have different conditions. For example, let's say that you have a contact that already exists in your CRM as a lead. You wanted to take a different path than a contact that already exists in your CRM, but as a customer or client. This is just an example. You can customize the filters condition based on the data that you have in your table and in your database. And the last thing that I want to bring to your attention is that you can connect several ZAPs to this main process. Now, imagine that you have hundreds, if not thousands, of records in those tables. How much time would your team save? How much money would you save? And imagine reinvesting those resources into high-level activities. What would be the impact in your business? I hope that this gave you an overview of what is possible to do with these features. And now I'm gonna show you a tutorial on how to implement the system. Alright, so in this tutorial, I'm gonna show you an example of how you can set up the system that I just explained to you. Of course, you needed to contextualize it to your specific business needs. By the way, in this flowchart, there is a main process and then there are sub-processes. An example of sub-process can be tracking the leads. And the purpose of this main process is basically connecting the database to your CRM system. And then you have several scenarios. An example of a database can be class and membership management software, a scheduling and booking system, proposal and invoice management, etc. Then you have the first ZAP, which function is basically filtering data because not always you want to send data to your CRM system. So the purpose of this first part of the ZAP is basically filtering out the data and then creating a row in the table. The purpose of the table is basically giving the option to your team to review, update, and approve the data. You can create several buttons in your table, and then you can connect to those buttons specific ZAPs. In this tutorial, I'm gonna show you how you can set up the first ZAP, in which you basically set up the trigger, and then create a row in the table. I'm going to show you how to create a table and then how to create the second part of the Zapier in which you have the different scenarios. And then I'm going to show you also how to set up an interface, which is basically, let's say, a page in which you can embed the tables and other objects so your team have a better user experience. Let's start by creating the first Zap. As an example, I'm using 𝗀𝗃𝗁𝗃. It's basically a class management software that music schools, dancing schools, etc. Are using for managing classes, teachers, payments, families, and so on. So I connected that app to Zapier, and now I'm setting up the trigger of the Zap. The trigger would be student enrolled. So every time that a new student enrolls, 𝗀𝗃𝗁𝗃 would push data into Zapier. Now I created a sample enrollment. Here I can select it, and then I can continue with that data. And now the second step would be creating a filter step. Why am I doing so? It's because you might need to filter out certain records, certain data. In this specific case, I want, for example, to continue with the Zap only when the enrollment meets a certain criteria. So I can do that by setting up the filter conditions. I want to continue only when the value in the enroll type field does not match trial. Then let's click on continue. Continue. Now we need to set up the step to create the record in the table. First of all, you need to create the table in Zapier, and I'm gonna show you that in a minute. Now I just want to show you what it looks like to set up this step in Zapier. So let's click on continue. You need to select the table, and then as you can see here, you have all the columns that you have created in your table, and you need to map out the fields. So you have a granular control over what data is pushed into the table. When you finish, you can click on continue. Okay, so let's proceed and test the step with this specific record. So let's click on retest step, and this is going to create a new row in the table. Here we are. This is the table that I had created, and this is the sample record that I tested just a few seconds ago. As you can see here, we have several columns, and if I click on the button here, add a new field, we can create new fields. These are the type of fields that you can create: text, long text, date and time, number, etc. Now we wanted to create the approve button. So let's select button, approve, type of button, triggers up. You need to select this one because in a few minutes I will also show you how you can set up the second part of the process, the second Zap, that is going to be triggered by this button. Then the label, approve, default state, enable, and then disable button when clicked. And then create. Okay, there is an error message here because we needed to set up the second Zap. I mean the Zap that is triggered by this button, and then we also needed to switch it on. I will show you how to do so in a second. The last thing that I wanted to talk about is the link that you are going to share to your team. Of course, you don't want your team to log into Zapier to get access to this table. Therefore, you need to click on share and then create a shareable link. Here you can choose between editor and view only. Let's select editor. We can copy the link and then close. Here you have the table. Now let's create the second part of the main process, meaning the second Zap that is being triggered by that button that I just showed you. So I created a new Zap. and then I click on the trigger step. Here I select tables, and then event, I select triggers up button clicked, continue. Here I can select the table, which is this one. Trigger button, approve. This is the button that we created a few seconds ago. Continue. Of course, here is going to ask us to test it. Okay, this is the record that we created. Continue with selected record. Okay, so now we have set up the trigger step, meaning when your team clicks on the approve button of a specific record. As I already mentioned, you might have several business scenarios at this point, and therefore, in order to route this specific record to the right path, we need to create a conditional logic. And to do so, Zapier helps us with paths. So if we click on the step and then on path, we can set up the conditional logic. So let's click on path rules. Let's say, for example, that we want to proceed only when, I don't know, like source, for example, contains, and here, sample. Okay. So this specific path is going to be triggered only when source equals to sample. Sorry, when source contains sample. Let's continue. And then we can set up the action. So what do you need to do here? Update your CRM in a specific way, or you wanted to send an SMS confirmation. I don't know. This is just an example. So here you can select ActiveCampaign or Hubspot or any other of your apps. The last thing that I wanted to show you is interfaces. You might have several tables, several apps, several, let's say, assets, and you need a place to organize all those assets. And interfaces are built exactly for that. So you can basically embed your tables, your resources, your asset. Let's click on create, start from scratch. Let's say that we wanted to embed the table that we just created. Here we can select the fields, choose which columns to display and their order. So connect data. And here we have it. Yes. So as you can see here, we have new interface, and then we can create several pages. For example, sample. Okay. So we have one interface, several pages, and then on each one of those pages, we can embed different things. In this page, we embedded the table that I show you in this video, but we can also add another component, for example, text. The logic here is to create an interface, a user interface for your team, so that the process is streamlined and they have everything organized in one specific place. Anyway, this use case is one of the things that you can do with Zapier to amplify the impact of your CRM. If you want to learn more on other use cases, you'll find a video on my YouTube channel about this topic. Thank you very much for watching this video. You can let me know in the comments if you have any feedback on that. Below this video, you'll find a couple of links. One is for downloading my business automation guide, and I recommend to do so if you wanted to learn more about the approach that I follow to help my clients. And in case you are ready to start automating your business processes, you can use the other link to apply to work with me. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next ones. Ciao!